Good evening, and welcome to these evening devotions leading up to Pentecost based on the letters of the words Holy Spirit. Tonight we deal with the letter R in the word Spirit, and that stands for rest. I've been a musician virtually all of my life. I learned to play a brass instrument when I was about 6 or 7, and then when I was 14, I picked up my sister's old guitar and taught myself how to play the guitar. My most embarrassing moment as a musician was when our band from the Salvation Army went from Salisbury to Johannesburg in South Africa over a weekend. And on a Saturday night festival, I was given a solo to play. It was only about 4 bars long, and I was quite nervous. And when I picked up my instrument ready to play, I glanced to the end of the piece of music, to the key signature, and saw that what it was, and got ready to play. The only trouble was the key signature changed at the bar where I was starting to play my solo. And so I played the same wrong note 4 times. There were 4 of us on the cornet bench, and after the first wrong note, the first senior player picked up his instrument. After the second note, so did the next player. And after the third note, all 4 of us were ready to play. Oh, it was awful. And when we got to the border, a couple of days later, on our way home, the bandmaster stood at the head of the coach and he said, "Anybody got anything to declare?" "No, Benny, you don't have to declare the fact that you played the same note wrong 4 times. The whole band heard you." Well, let's say I didn't play too many solos after that. But the reason I chose music is because in music, a rest note is very important. It either breaks the mood of the music, or it gives the composer, as he has made the music, to utilize 2 or 3 instruments to just bring out the melody or a changing key or something like that. It's not just simply a time to put down your instrument and go to sleep. You have to remain alert. You have to stay in the tempo of the piece that you're playing. You've got to remain in the mood and know that when you come into play that you're at the right place at the right time. Hebrews chapter 4 speaks about resting. And the chapter starts off with these words: "Therefore, since the promise of entering his rest still stands, let us be careful that none of you be found to have fallen short of it." In a later verse, the writer continues, "Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts." That is, do not ignore or disobey God. And then he continues, "For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from his own work, just as God did from his." Let me repeat that. For anyone who enters God's rest also rests from his own work, just as God did from his. To rest from our work means we need to trust Christ for everything. The Spirit, we are told in the Scriptures, will lead us into all truth, and the truth will set us free. One of the difficulties we face as Christians is never being good enough to deserve salvation, let alone be filled with the Spirit. And so we fight against the sinful nature, and we try to do all sorts of things to prove to God that we are worthy of receiving his salvation. But that isn't how it works. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9 tell us it is by grace that you have been saved, not by works, so that no one can boast. So, rest in him. Listen to the tempo of the music of your soul as written by God. The lilting melody is clear. The sweep and draw of the music is like a storm that moves into gentle tranquility. Our frantic, frenetic efforts are stilled by entering his rest. So we cease from our works, our own doings, and abandon our righteousness. We rest from fear, from toil and trouble, from sorrow, from the tossings to and fro of our own souls. I would trust him. Therefore, I will enter and rest in the Lord, for he shall keep me in perfect peace, because my mind is stayed on him. Enter into that rest, so that you may approach the throne of grace with confidence, so that you tonight may receive mercy and find grace in your time of need. Thank you for listening. Good night, and God bless.